Look at a creature floating in a sterile glass vat. Half-rusted machine, half-mutilated flesh. It didn't fail the experiment. It was the experiment, and it simply wasn't good enough. That's not an act of rage. It's a routine Tuesday afternoon. The High Evolutionary wasn't born a monster. He was a creator who treated cold cruelty as a necessary mathematical equation. If you could build a flawless universe, would the mountain of bodies even matter to you? This is Beyond the Villain, where we unmask evil, one story at a time. With tonight's episode, we are officially launching a brand new chapter on the channel. Arc 14, The Price of Perfection. Some villains don't crave power or cheap revenge. They chase something far more dangerous, perfection. Over this new arc, we're dissecting antagonists who believe that being flawed isn't just a human trait, it's a crime. When perfection becomes the goal, what does humanity give up to get there? Let's find out. In this episode, we open James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 to dissect the High Evolutionary, brought to life through a chilling, theatrical tour de force by Chukwudi Iwuji. We aren't just looking at his atrocities, we are pulling apart the philosophy that made his madness feel entirely justified. The High Evolutionary represents the logical extreme of scientific perfectionism and authoritarian transhumanism. He is the ultimate proof that when perfection becomes a moral absolute, compassion disappears, living beings become disposable prototypes, and progress turns into tyranny. He didn't wake up one day and decide to be a butcher. He woke up and decided nature was sloppy. To him, natural evolution is slow, chaotic, and relentlessly wasteful, just millions of years of animals suffering and dying by random chance. So he decided to take the wheel. Why leave survival to a roll of the dice when he could engineer a flawless utopia directly? That's his true point of no return. It's the terrifying conviction that suffering only matters if it's inefficient. Look at Counter-Earth. It wasn't destroyed out of hatred. He built an entire civilization of enhanced, peaceful animal hybrids. But the moment they showed a tiny hint of baseline human street-level crime, he didn't try to rehabilitate them. He bombed the entire planet from orbit. He just reset the experiment. To him, they weren't living souls. They were just lines of bad code that needed to be deleted. The High Evolutionary isn't simply another mad scientist obsessed with bigger experiments. His real philosophy is far more disturbing. He believes imperfection is humanity's greatest sin, and that only a superior creator has the right to erase it. At the center of his worldview is what philosophers would call perfectionism, the belief that life should strive toward an ideal state of excellence. But the High Evolutionary twists this idea into something monstrous. For him, perfection isn't something living beings discover on their own. It must be designed, controlled, and enforced. Throughout the film, he repeatedly treats every creature he creates as a prototype rather than an individual. Rocket, Batch 89, Counter-Earth, even entire civilizations are never ends in themselves. They are experiments. If they fail to match his vision, he destroys them without hesitation and simply starts again. That reveals another layer of his philosophy: instrumentalism. Living beings possess value only insofar as they contribute to his objective. The moment they stop serving that purpose, they become disposable. Their emotions, memories, relationships, and suffering carry no moral weight because, in his eyes, they are merely components of a larger project. His worldview also reflects technocratic elitism. The High Evolutionary believes that extraordinary intelligence grants extraordinary authority. Because he can rewrite DNA, create new species, and accelerate evolution, he assumes he has also earned the right to decide what life should become. Scientific ability becomes, in his mind, moral superiority. This is why one of his defining statements is,
"There is no God! That's why I stepped in!"
It isn't just arrogance. It's a declaration that he sees himself as evolution's rightful replacement. Nature is too slow, too random, and too imperfect. So he appoints himself its new architect. His methods resemble a dark form of authoritarian transhumanism. Transhumanism generally argues that technology can improve life and overcome biological limitations. The High Evolutionary takes that possibility to its most extreme conclusion. Improvement should never be voluntary. Evolution should no longer belong to nature or to living beings themselves. It should belong entirely to the one intelligent enough to control it. That is the fatal flaw in the High Evolutionary's worldview. He mistakes control for wisdom and intelligence for moral authority. The more he tries to eliminate imperfection, the more monstrous he becomes. In the end, he isn't saving life. He's trying to replace it with his own blueprint. His obsession with creating a perfect world ultimately destroys the very thing that gives life its value: the freedom to grow, to fail, and to become something no creator could ever predict. The greatest contradiction in his philosophy is exposed by Rocket. Despite all of the High Evolutionary's engineering, Rocket surpasses his creator through qualities that cannot be manufactured: curiosity, empathy, creativity, and genuine connection. The one specimen he labels a mistake becomes the greatest proof that perfection cannot be designed like a machine. Rocket is a survivor of the laboratory, and his right to exist, flaws and all, is entirely non-negotiable. The Guardians don't fight to create a better, shinier species. They fight for the right of an imperfect species to simply exist. We don't need cybernetic modifications to see his shadow in our world. Look at the eugenics movements of the early 20th century, where institutional systems used almost identical corporate, scientific language about cleansing the gene pool before it led directly to the death camps. Or look at modern hyper-capitalist workplaces. The environments that quietly discard employees the absolute second their productivity dips, or algorithms that treat human beings purely as data points on a spreadsheet to be optimized. Improvement without compassion is just a colder kind of cruelty. So let's hit the question that actually stings. Was the High Evolutionary truly an evil monster? Or was he just an uncomfortably honest version of our own ambition? If his experiments had actually succeeded, if he had built a perfect world with zero crime and zero suffering, would we still look back and condemn the blood it took to get there? His terrifying trait isn't that he's lying to us, it's that he has the nerve to say out loud what our modern optimization culture tries to hide. The vital lesson here is that striving for growth is fine, but the moment you remove empathy from your pursuit of excellence, you lose your humanity. True progress isn't about cutting away everything that is weak, it's about holding on to your principles while you climb. When we apply this to our actual lives, we have to look at how we treat our own personal development and the people around us. We live in a culture that is utterly obsessed with hyper-optimization. We track every macro, analyze every minute of productivity, and view our own normal human setbacks as failures of will. It is remarkably easy to develop an internal High Evolutionary, a harsh, unforgiving voice that demands total perfection and treats our flawed, messy selves as garbage that needs to be purged. But true self-mastery is not an engineering project. It is an act of stewardship. If you treat yourself or your team like a prototype to be optimized at all costs, you will end up building a highly functional machine that has no soul left to enjoy the life it built. Real progress starts by protecting what is fragile. It's about building a space where it is safe to learn, safe to stumble, and safe to be incomplete. Excellence is a beautiful mountain to climb, but if you push people off the cliff along the way because they're moving too slowly, you aren't creating a superior environment. You are just turning the climb into a graveyard. We have to learn to love the work in progress, because in this life, the work in progress is all we will ever be. We choose empathy over optimization. True leadership means recognizing that human development cannot be forced through a meat grinder. When we reject the toxic pressure to constantly trim away our flaws, we protect the very things that make us human. True greatness isn't found in a laboratory that cleanses all error. It is found in the grace to carry our scars forward and build something meaningful with them anyway. The High Evolutionary shows us what happens when a brilliant mind decides that flaws are an unpardonable sin. The most terrifying villains are not the ones who lie, but the ones who take their broken philosophy and follow it all the way to its absolute end. Is he a monster or a mirror? Let me know in the comments below. This has been part 1 of Arc 14. This has been Beyond the Villain, where we unmask evil one story at a time. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel to get the latest unmasking of every villain and check out my other videos. Thank you for watching, and peace.